Okie dokie. Hello. Sick and awesome. Wait, my bad. I forgot to open up a couple things. Lol. It's fine. Hello. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have y'all here. Who do I see in chat? I see, oh no. Jacko Henry Saman. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly, because I don't want to try and pronounce it with an accent. I see Witchy, I see Kenny, I see Oz. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to the stream. And hello, Daria. Welcome in, everyone. Today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking about how to draw men. How to draw men. How to work with men's anatomy. Very similar to last week. If I remember correctly, last I checked, the thing that won the poll was a foreshortened pose. Thank you, everyone. Because I did mention I really want to do a foreshortened one. Oh my god, my phone. But yeah. That's what we're going to be doing at the end today, afterwards. But we're going to be starting with men's anatomy. We're going to be talking a bit about how to proportion stuff, how to make stuff feel nice and proportionate, just like last week with women. I might go out over kids' anatomy. I probably won't, but we'll see how long this one takes me, because usually drawing out the anatomy chart takes a bit longer than usual, and I don't want to spend forever on the finally a W for Jessie in the poll is so true, because I don't want to spend forever on the lesson portion. I do want to get to the end. Hello, Cupcake for Frio, welcome in. An excellent Witchy, yes. Get into your notebook for notes. You can always download the thing from Discord as well afterwards, if you didn't know. Oh, I zoomed in so much. You can also always just download the thing from Discord afterwards as well if you don't feel like taking notes. But if you want to take notes, then you can, for sure. I love taking notes. But yeah, before we get going, we all kind of know what I gotta do beforehand, because if you didn't know, our growing community is filled with tons of art nerds. We art nerds have to stick together, so if you're an art nerd too, be sure to check out the links to our social media in the description below, and check out our website for our class offerings, where you can get critique, guidance, and encouragement from our instructors, because we're not just a YouTube channel, we are an art school too, so if you'd like to support us so we can keep making furry content, consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 per month, where you can get access to tons of perks like my working files, critique sessions, and a huge discount on our classes that have a limited amount of spots, so be sure to check those out before they are gone. All right. Yo, hello GG, welcome in. Okay, there's a couple questions in here before I've even written anything down. Okay, I'll answer those in a sec. Let me just put down some notes first. This is gonna be the same deal as before with the women's stream. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna do like the general main thing first. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will, if I can just answer them by talking, I will. But if you want something that has to do with like a small sort of like mini demo that you want me to try, then save that until after I like draw out the full body, and then I can answer that afterwards. Who is in here? Hello, welcome in. Hello, Kiara, welcome in. I know you said free content, but I heard furry content. Big jokes. No, I don't do furry content. Hello, Lewis, welcome in. It does sound like furry content. Yeah, my bad. Me going furry content. Like, rolling my R a little bit out there. Okay. Oh, hello, Olivia. Welcome in. I definitely don't know who you are. I have never seen you in real life, and we are not meeting up in person in a few days. Hello, Olivia. Welcome in. Okay. Let's see. I definitely have not known you since I was a baby. Okay. Let's see. Where is the last one that I did? Okay, I have notes off to the side just to see what I talked about last week so I can do a compare and contrast thing. Okay, so we're going to start with general things to keep in mind. All right, general things to keep in mind. Indeed. General things to keep in mind when we're drawing men, right? There's a bajillion rules when it comes to anatomy in general, but we'll stick with this one first. So, same thing with the girls, because hips tend to be drawn in a certain way. Hips tend to be equal or less than the width of the rib cage. Hi, lurking. Have a good stream. Thank you, Ray. Welcome in, and thank you for lurking. So hips tend to be equal to or less than the width of the rib cage, right? Compared to women, where hips. Oh yeah, we're in Medibang this week again. Hips tend to be with women tend to be equal to or more than the width of the rib cage. However, with men, it's equal to or less than the width of the rib cage, because men tend to have thinner, thinner. No, Yes, they tend to have thinner hips. They tend to have more narrow hips compared to a woman. Because of our pelvic size, women tend to have larger pelvises than men. So with a man, the hips, when you draw them, tend to be equal to or less than the width of the rib cage. Is this always applicable? Not necessarily. But biologically, this tends to be the case. Biologically, once again... I learned I hate anatomy. It comes with learning it more. I adore anatomy. We did in university this week. We had our life drawing session was focused on learning the muscles and bone placement of arms and legs. It was probably the most fun life drawing session I've had in a really long time. Because the model was like a more built, like he was a more muscular man. And he was really, really fun to draw because his like muscles were really pronounced. It was really, really fun. And congrats on getting over your art block, Witchy. Hello, Mo Arts. Welcome in. Anatomy is super fascinating. Yes. Skylar. Me too. Biologically, women... No, sorry. Biologically, men tend to grow muscle easier. So even when leaner or heavier set, muscle tends to be more pronounced. Cool how muscles connect with each other. Super true. I gotta draw some weirdly posed guys for a commission today. Let's go. Hello, Kenyon. Welcome in. Feels like I have 7 books on anatomy. I still can't master it. It's like a wall I can't climb over. It's the hardest. The thing with learning anatomy is that it's something that is better practiced than it is read. So you can read up on anatomy as much as you can, but if you don't draw it enough, then it's like gonna be rough. But yeah, studies and life drawing tend to help a lot. Biologically, men tend to grow muscle easier. So even when the body type is more lean or a little bit heavier set, muscle tends to be more pronounced on a man than a woman. Right, biologically, men, muscle growth tends to come from testosterone, I think. Oh, heavens. But because of their added testosterone, they tend to bulk up a little bit easier. So even when a man is a little bit leaner or is a little bit heavier set, he will generally still look more muscular than the average woman. So like an average man will look more bulked than an average woman would. Biologically. This does not mean that they are always super, super buff, but in general, they tend to be a bit more strong looking. You okay, dude? Me? No. Never. I'm joking. I'm fine. I've forgotten my science. Biologically. No real comments on the chest and masculine. To be more pronounced. At age 13 plus. And are properly developed at around 16 plus. Whoops. But children's anatomy. Tends to follow the same or similar rules to men. I struggled the most with male anatomy from the back view. Don't ask for the technical name. No, you've got it right, just from the back. Backs are hard. Back muscles are really, really hard. I recently learned those as well. Like, properly learned them. Because we did a class in that in university. It was a lot of fun. Facial proportions are pretty tough as well. Wow, these men look weird. Yeah, Kay. Welcome in, Kay. Another individual that I definitely do not know. The words are all just men curved into the shapes of letters. So true, Oz. But yeah, so masculine traits tend to be more pronounced at age 13 plus and are properly developed at around 16 plus. However, with children's anatomy, children's anatomy tends to follow the same or similar rules to men, right? When we're drawing kids, a lot of these like proportional rules, like hips tend to be equal to or less than the rib cage, the general straight up and down rectangle. That's closer to men than it is with women. Like when women hit puberty, 13 plus, we tend to go through more drastic changes compared to a man. So when we are drawing women versus men, women tend to have a lot more drastic changes to our bodies compared to a man. So drawing the transition between a kid and an adult tends to be a bit easier, going from kid to, or like boy to man, from girl to woman, if that makes sense. Also, I want to appreciate the Wing Canvas team for taking the time to do these videos and streams and everything to teach us. Of course, Witchy. I love teaching on stream. Like, as tired as I sound, I actually love teaching a lot. I love teaching on stream, so it is a lot of fun to do on Fridays. What forms should we use when drawing more plus-sized men and women? That's tough to talk about. Mostly because the way that I do it is very, like, okay, when I do body types, the way that I do body types is very, like, non-linear. It tends to be, like, I don't really have any rules for it. With me, not circles. You don't use circles. Be careful if you're using circles to draw somebody who's a little more plus size, because there's weight to it, right? You can't just, like, draw circles and go, like, yes, this is somebody who is plus size. Like, that's not how you do it, right? There's a lot of different, like, nuance. There's a lot of nuance to drawing somebody who's plus size. So generally, as I've gotten older, I've stopped using, like, the basic shapes to draw out something. That's something that I want to do, though. I want to, like, sit down with myself and, like, figure out how to teach it in, like, a basic shapes kind of way, because I don't know how to do that. Usually I just go straight to the actual forms of the body, and I layer them on top of each other, because I don't do, like, basic shapes. I go straight into it. But usually it is a lot of layered, like, ovals and, more rounded shapes, but it's a bit of a tougher thing. Yeah, mostly the body folds is the hardest. Super, super true. Oz is correct. Morpho has a good book specifically on body folds. Super true. When I draw more plus-size people, I do the general shape of, like, larger, more bulky, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's just, like, it's a lot of kind of going back and forth with it, and figuring it out. Let me go back to these other questions as well, because these are all the notes that I had, by the way, for general things to keep in mind, right? So hips tend to be equal to or less than the width of the rib cage. Biologically, men tend to grow muscle easier, so even when leaner or heavier set, muscle tends to be more pronounced. And masculine traits tend to be more pronounced at age 13 plus and are properly developed at around 16 plus, but children's anatomy tend to follow the same or similar rules to men. So that's what I wanted to go over with these notes, but let me just read these real quick. Is it necessary to do the head proportions whenever you draw a character? For example, I'm working on a scene with many characters of different sizes with different views. Should I use it on all of them? Yes. So when we are working with the head proportions, the reason why we measure in heads is because everybody's head is a different size, right? The thing when we're measuring with heads, the reason why we don't use like numbers, like just reason why we don't just use normal numbers is because the head is relevant or relative to the rest of the body. So that's why we stick with those heads. These proportional rules, however, are considered very general, basic rules. Are they going to be the exact same for every single character? No. For instance, for the D&D group that I am not allowed to name, there's a lot of different types of characters in there, right? With a lot of different body types, a lot of different stuff, right? There's a gnome that I have to draw, and obviously he's an adult, but he's a lot smaller than everybody else. So his head proportions are different than the actual child of the party, right? So he's shorter than she is. So I have to kind of mess around with those proportions. It always fights me because I'm like, it feels wrong whenever I draw him because I'm like, this is not how the proportions work, but it is for this character. And then there's another guy who's like 7'4" as well, and that's ultra tall. So I have to mess around with the head heights there as well because technically this head height, the adult male head height, the average male 7 to 7.5 heads tall is around the 5'10" to 6'1" range. So even with the proportions that I'm talking about today, that would not work with this character. So I have to really push and pull. And he's also bulked up, so I really have to push and pull his anatomy a lot. So yes, it's necessary to do the head proportions, but the measurements that are there for head heights and whatever may not always be the same. With proportions, how would you indicate or increase the size of certain body parts with, let's say, a height above you? That's foreshortening. We're not going to go over foreshortening because that's a bit tougher. Because foreshortening is something that involves a lot of, say, if we're an arm, right? If you just draw an arm normally. This is my terrible arm that I'm just drawing real quick. Say if I was to just draw an arm normally from the side, this will be turned into more of a cylindrical shape as I go upwards, right? And this is working with foreshortening. And we did a foreshortening stream recently, but it's just about figuring out how to think of them in a 3D space, compared to just drawing them outright. It's going to take a lot of practice. True, Oz. The head is very important. I've never talked to a person without one. Super true. D&D campaign that you cannot name because I can't name it. It's an 18+ kind of thing. Imagine if Unnamed Gnome was still 7 heads tall, but his head was just very tiny. I would... Well, the thing is that that's very much the thing with Unnamed Pixie. But... so he's just very tiny as well. Any tips or advice with the head proportions method? I do struggle with it a lot because I tend to not use it with my scenes. I really want to improve. Usually I skip that part in my scenes. Use it. That's my tip. Use it. If you don't use it, then you should. Okay, let's move on. Realize that's something I've never drawn fan art. Never. I grew up drawing fan art. When I hit maybe... I only drew fan art for a really, really long time. I had a few characters of my own, but I never really... used them. So then when I hit maybe 13 or 14, that's when I started drawing, only my own characters for a really long time. Proportions. Not drawing fan art's a little hard. It gets easier. At first I was like, I don't want to draw I don't have any characters that I want to draw. But then, I got older, and I'm like, bro, all I draw are my own characters. Now I've been doing a lot of fan art recently, because I've had to do a lot of original work for school, so the fan art's a nice, balance. But either or. But yeah, any tips or advice with the head proportion method? Yeah, just do it. Thank you so much for the help advice. I really appreciate it so much. Of course. Of course. Okay, proportions. How do you measure the body so it looks accurate to life? It's usually always measured in relativity. I'm not going to write this down. I'm just going to say it. Always measured in relativity. That's what I was saying recently. So with your drawing, when you're drawing the body, you usually use heads to measure the body and eyes for the face, etc. Right? It does not matter what style you're working in. You are using your heads to measure the body. Right? If you're working in anime, anime artists, all of them know realism. Anime is a That's not the word I'm thinking of. It's a, no, what's the word? Shoot. Anime is a product of realism, right? It comes from realism. I don't know a single professional manga artist, professional anime artist who cannot draw a perfectly realistic human being as well. Don't you lose a grade from drawing fan art? I mean, it depends. You shouldn't submit it for portfolios. If you're doing it for schoolwork, just be careful. But the thing is that fan art, I love fan art. I do it all the time. I don't care what people say. You can get jobs from doing fan art. But, like, the thing with doing fan art is that, like... Okay, this is going to sound really gatekeepy. There's two different types of fan art, right? There's the fan art that's, like, really original and beautiful, and you see it a lot, and it's, like, different poses, and you kind of reimagine the characters themselves. And then there's the fan art where it's basically just a trace of what the original is, right? We don't... When we're submitting stuff or we're doing work, we really shouldn't be doing traces at all. Like, if you take a screenshot, you just kind of redraw the character that way. You shouldn't do that. It's like, you can, but maybe not for more professional work. It's a slippery slope. That's mostly what I'm gonna say on the topic. Reduction? No, like product. A byproduct. Byproduct! That was the word. Anime is a byproduct of realism. I'm gonna watch the rest stream tomorrow. Sleepy Beauty needs her lazy sleeping time. For sure. Have a good rest. You guys have been great help to me and my friends. Thanks for the vids and keep it up. Thank you so much, TBH. No worries, Sleepy. Or, sorry, hello, Sleepy. Hello, Meredith. Okay, proportions. Yeah, so we always measure in relativity. But for proportions, I'm more used to more male, masculine proportions, so this is, like, a little bit easier for me. But can I do both? Yes, I can. So, men tend to be 7 to 7.5 heads tall. Right, we're going to be working with somebody who's 7.5 heads because I tend to be stronger when the individual is taller. So again, if we draw the head kind of in this ball and shield type shape. This is the slightly more anime way of doing it compared to a Loomis way. Is it also 8 heads? 8 heads is considered the Superman proportion. When we are doing 8 heads is what you do. That used to be the perceived thing, because 8 heads is considered the idealist's way of drawing a man. More realistically, it's 7 and 7.5 heads. Because if we do 7 to 7.5, and that's around like 5'8" or 5'10" to around 6'2" or something like that. Because when we have 8 heads, that tends to be like 6'3" to 6'6", kind of in that area, right? Which is like considered like the ideal superhero man, right? It would be like 8 heads tall, 2 heads across the shoulder width. Like that's really that's built. So that used to be the old way of doing it. More nowadays it's a little bit more realistic to draw them 7 to 7.5 heads. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Excusez-moi. Nope. 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, that's still 6. 7. And I'm going to do 7.5, so I'm just going to do 8 and then cut it off. And the annoying thing with Medibang is I can't just select a bunch and merge them. I have to do it one at a time. Oops. No. Okay. Yes. Yes. There we go. So that's our head tower. So that's 7.5 heads, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Yeah. So that's 7.5 heads tall. I tend to do like the max height just because I'm better with the max height. Yeah. Tutorials Whoa. Your tutorials inspired me to try out Medibang. Was trying out Krita, and I gotta say it's way more comfortable to use, especially with the info you provided for it. I'm glad, Granka. Medibang is pretty good, yeah. It's really great if you're, like, just starting out. You don't really know too much about digital art programs. It's a really nice beginner's program. Krita's definitely not beginner-friendly. It's pretty good if it's, like, the main... if it's, like, the first thing you've used. I've never been a big fan of Krita, but again, it's up to preference. But yeah, Medibang is great if you're, like, just starting out. It's nice and simple. Teacher this year taught it was 8. Really? My profs and teachers have always said 7 to 7.5. Because the 8 method, 8 heads is like the original Andrew Loomis way of doing it. And then, like, or not Loomis. Who said it was 8? Shoot, I don't remember who said it was 8, but it was like the original way of doing it. And then we got more scientifically accurate with it. Okay. Sorry, I'm seeing people at me for a second. Okay. Okay, so. With men. Oh, let me just take one of these heads as well and use it. Should have done that first. Whoops. Nope. 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 All right. Because the shortcuts are all different on Medibang. Whoops. Bridgeman? Who's Bridgeman? Okay. So men tend to be... Let's just do this text. This is heights. Okay. So adult male. It's around 7 to 7.5. Hello, that one guy. Welcome in. 7 to 7.5. Head's tall. Yep, so an adult male tends to be 7 to 7.5 heads tall. When we draw on the neck, we can kind of bring it down. Again, it's about a 1/3 of the head height. Tends to be about the neck. And our shoulder width is 1.5 to 2 heads. Right, so women, it was around... Was it also 1.5 to 2 heads? That doesn't sound right. Women, it's usually 1 to 1.5. Ooh, did I get that wrong last week? Whoops. Hang on, I need to double check something. I might have gotten it wrong last week. Big jokes. Oh, also, because I've been thinking about it, how do you guys feel about me playing music during streams in the future? They do have to be copyright free, but the thing is that I really like to listen to classical. So, like, how do you guys feel about, like, more classical music playing during stream? Like Mozart and whatnot. By, like, classic, like, old masters. I drew it like this in the original, too? That doesn't feel right. Oh, well. Okay. So 1.5 to 2 heads for the shoulder width is for men. Parka music would be nice. Stormlight reference? Not sure what that is. What are some good beginner brushes for sketching and line work? There's a lot, but none of them feel like me. For Medibang, I've been using the G Pen. Photoshop, I like to use Kyle's Ultimate Pencil. And then I also bring over Kyle's Ultimate Pencil over to Clip Studio. It's a good thing I like maths because this is all seems very calculated. It is, yeah. Music in the background would be cool. Makes it sounds okay. Okay, cool. I will create a playlist then, and we can play it. We can test it out next week. You guys can let me know if it's too loud or anything. It is going to be classical, so it's going to be mostly like, you know, like, like classical arrangements and whatnot. Like right now I'm listening to Debussy. Oh, I can't pronounce this name. Arabesque number 1. The thing is that a lot of like really classical music is copyright free, so I can play it on stream. Oops, I've been using the, yeah, I used the wrong layer. That's fine. Cool. Making frog themed notes right now. Nice. Okay, so yeah, so 1.5 to 2 heads is a shoulder width. So when we take our head, I think I'm gonna be doing like 1.75 heads or something. Oops. So again, if I take the heads, flip them widthwise, and I just kind of do this magic. If I go whoop, and then I go whoop. Yeah, something like that. That tends to be approximately how you can do them. So if I took this, just kind of did this magic. There we go. So it's a little bit out of the way, but that tends to be how you would draw them, and you would kind of bring in your trapezius so it curves a little bit more downwards. And then we can start the rib cage around here. But again, I tend to skip steps. This is more of the, what's it called? The like figure drawing person's way of doing it. But if you just kind of want to do the basic shapes, you can just draw your rib cage or your upper one as like a trapezoid with a little cavity on the bottom like that. Oh, right. Hips will be, if it's 7.5 heads, the hips will be at 3.75. So this is where the hips will be, approximately. Hips begin halfway. So it's about 3.5 to 3.75 heads, approximately. Birchman was a guy who made an anatomy book. I've only got 100 pages of Wave King, so I couldn't make a Stormlight archive. Oh, Stormlight Archives of book series. Gotcha. I've never heard of it. Oh, okay. Birchman was a guy who made an anatomy book. Okay, valid. Have you heard about the new Kirby game demo that just came out? Yes, I had a couple friends text me immediately when it came out. I'm choosing not to play it because I want to play the new Kirby game right when it comes out, and I want to play it, like, blind. This could be some dope shoulder pauldron, so true. So no head, but it's so all head. Thanks, Kay. Thanks for the shoulder tip. I'm struggling with that. Oof. Can there be a half head for women? With women, it tends to be, if I remember correctly, it was about, yeah, it was also 1.5 to 2 heads. Though generally it leans towards more the 1.5. Men lean more towards the 2. But yeah, it's around the same if I remember correctly. Sanderson, I won. Kickstarted me the other day, took off an insane amount. Chokes, I don't know who Brandon Sanderson is. Mentioned Medibang's more beginner program. What could be more of a next level app with a similar feel? Oh, yeah. Okay, so Medibang is like considered the like beginner's program, right? That's how I've always seen it. It's because it does not have the tools and the functions that a lot of the other programs that I have used, right? So like Clip Studio and Photoshop are the two that I switch between the most. Does that mean that Medibang is bad? No. It just means that, like, compared to the other programs that I've used, Medibang is not that amazing. But Medibang is great if you're not really into, like, if you ever just starting. Clip and Photoshop are more advanced, and they're also paid. Hello, Riley. Welcome in. Hey, do you know who Brandon Sanderson is? Let me just Google him. I still don't know who this is. Who is this guy? Hey, King's firstborn. Is he an author? This is what I'm seeing. I said he's an author. Oh, novel Kickstarter. Oh, he's a writer. Jokes. Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't. I've never heard of any of these books. Yeah, my bad. I don't know who any of these are. Drawing a Medibank feels like having one hand behind my back. It's a couple of convenience functionalities are missing. Yeah, basically. Kind of joking, but seriously. Yeah, no, I've never heard of him before. My bad. He's just a bookman. Okay. His writing style is really nice. Yeah, sorry, man. I wouldn't know. Okay. So again, with the hips, when we are drawing men, our men's hips can be drawn. It's going to be an underwear shape, but this time the sides of our underwear are going to be curving in this way. All right, so this is like men. This is like the same diagram we had on the last stream. Whoops. And then women tend to be like this. And this is men. Right. So when we have our hips, you can draw them somewhat like that. Stomach, again, you can kind of draw as a circle. I drew this ribcage a little bit too far down. It should be a little bit higher. The stomach would be kind of here. And then our hips. Once again, if we have the ribcage, which is kind of right here, it should be less than or equal to the width of the shoulders. So it'll be approximately like that. I break this rule all the time, but it is generally what you want to keep in mind. I think the most annoying thing about Medibank to me is like the with my pen I have a back eraser, so like, but when I flip it around to use the back eraser, it doesn't translate the size that I've set for the eraser, which is larger than the brush usually, so it like holds the same size as the brush, so it's just also really tiny, and that gets really annoying. So yeah, hips tend to start around there. And we have this general shape. So usually with men, you know, their bodies tend to curve a little bit more like this. Or just go straight downwards. They're a bit more rectangular compared to women. Again, very general. Oh my god. Just trying to clean this up a little bit. Your favorite author is Sarah J. Maas. I'm not the type with a lot of favorite authors. Like, I really love Rick Riordan. I really liked Stephen King. But I'm not a huge, like, bookworm, I think. Like, I love reading, and I wish I read more, but I don't tend to have the time. I'm gonna start picking up reading again, probably, if, like, with transit, because I'm, like, I spend almost 2 hours on a subway almost every day of the week. So, like, I might as well start reading again. But knowing me, I probably won't, and I'll just be doodling on the subway. I love that Medibank works with the short buttons like my tablet has. Well, Krita was very confusing about some of those. So far, it's great. The basic brushes they offer are good enough for me right now. Yeah, for sure. I rarely download new brushes for a lot of programs. Photoshop, I have a bajillion brushes, but like I use like 3 of them maybe. But it is nice to have them for sure. And then we can just have our down the center line. I have so many recs if you want some. Sure. I mean, I have a lot of books lying around. I tend to be really picky with my books as well. Like, compared to other, like, media that I consume, I think books are the ones that I am the most picky about. Which I think is really funny. Oh, I put this in the wrong layer. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, next thing that we're going to be doing is the legs, right? So anything in pairs should be drawn in tandem. Not going to write that down again, but anything in pairs you should do at the same time. So length of our legs, right? From this point forward, men and women get really, really similar. This is why I say that when you are drawing like a man or a woman, there are some differences, but the majority of them are very, very similar. All right, there's a lot of things that are really, really the same. So again, if we have our calves in, or our thighs in, which we can kind of draw as like a... What's it called? It's a trapezoidish shape, kind of like that. I just recently learned about all the muscle structure that goes into them. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to confuse you. But there's a lot of it. Because again, if we're kind of sticking to the more beginner thing, I don't want to talk about the muscle structure because that's going to get real confusing. So again, if you draw one thigh, you draw the other one. And then you can draw your... My prof has said that you can draw your kneecap as a hockey puck, which does work for sure. If you're kind of working on a more 2D scale, you can work with a coffin, because this kind of works the same way. And then again, with our calves, the outer muscle is taller than the inner one. So we should have a kind of coffin shape, but one side will be higher than the other. So it'll be almost like that. And generally, our thighs tend to be about the same length as our calves. And then we can just kind of have the shoes, the feet in there, which again, I went over last week, which if you just want to draw a foot, like not really worrying too much about it, you can do a circle, trapezoid, triangle, semicircle. And from the side, that's a circle, trapezoid, triangle, semicircle. And that's an easy way that you can draw a foot from any angle. You just got to rearrange those shapes over and over. Nowadays, I don't really do that. I tend to do my own thing when it comes to drawing feet. Right? I don't really use that method anymore, but it was definitely what brought me up to being able to do that. Right? And then once we have our body and our legs and all that fun jazz, then we can add in our arms. Again, if our shoulders are kind of drawn off to the side here, you can start them off as 2 circles, connecting onto the rib cage area. Then if we draw the upper bicep, once again, you can draw it almost like a trapezoid at the top of a baseball bat. Take the elbow, make sure it kind of aligns with the belly button. Actually, these should be a little bit lower down. Somewhat aligns the belly button a bit above, a bit below. Bring your forearms down. Wrist tends to be right at the hips. So then your fingertips can end around halfway down your thigh. It's about like anywhere between 1/3 to 2/3 on your thigh is where your fingertips tend to end. So let's actually bring this up because these are a bit long. Because our forearm is also around the same size as our bicep. So it tends to be kind of something like that. So it's not as many notes as there was for the women because a lot of the stuff, again, is a repeat, right? A lot of the proportional stuff are repeats. And that's literally just because we're not that different. We're really not. So, you know, I don't want to repeat everything that I brought up in the women's stream because I would feel pointless. I love talking about muscles, do tell. I totally would, but it's going to take forever. What sort of genres do you like? I really like horror, but I'm picky about horror. I really like fantasy, but I'm picky about fantasy. I love action, but I'm also picky about fashion. I don't like dystopia as much. I like realistic fiction, but again, I'm picky about realistic fiction. It's like anything that I really like comes with like an asterisk at the end, and then a list of stuff that I don't like seeing when I read. Some books that I liked when I was younger, I really liked Eon. That was a good series. Like anything written by Rick Riordan was really good. I actually quite like romance, but again, I'm very picky about it. I liked fan art by Sarah Tregay. There was another few books that I liked, and I don't remember what they were called. when I was younger, I liked the Divergent series. I got older and realized I didn't like them as much. I thought they were very okay. I really liked Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I want to read The Institution. I have the book in the basement. I have it, I have The Institution, I have The Stand, and then there's one more that I still haven't read. But I've read Pet Sematary, and that one was really good. I really like The Alchemist. That's another good one. That one is very, very... That one's kind of hard to grasp. But I really like The Alchemist. Human? I think that's what it was called. It's like about a guy. It's about this alien who has to try to be human for a really long time. That one was really good. The Room, or just Room, I think that was pretty good too. I liked that one. It was like perspective of a child. Like, my tastes are all over the place, but it's also like a big asterisk at the end for each genre that I like. Spent 2 hours today in school watching my martial arts teacher perform and sketch some pretty good poses. Nice. Speak about fantasy. Brandon Sanderson is boy when it comes to fantasy. I might pick up one of his books, then I'll see. I'm in a book club, LMAO, so like we just give each other endless lists of books to read. Valid. The Alchemist. Yeah, The Alchemist is pretty good. It's very like spiritual, and I had to read it for school, but I was a really, really big fan of it. Its arm width ended up kind of long. That's okay. Because then that means that the rib cage needs to be a bit smaller. I'm so used to drawing large, buff men. Okay. Reel it back a second. So if I kind of just lower this a bit. Oh my god, Betty Bang. If I just kind of thin this out just a smidge. Sanderson is one of the fantasy writers in terms of prominence. Okay. I will take a peek at some point, probably, maybe. Currently reading The Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. YA fantasy. Ooh, I'm very picky about YA fantasy. Six of Crows, fantasy again. I don't misspell the author's name. And Witch Bottle by Tom Fletcher. Horror. Witch Bottle by Tom Fletcher. I'm always more intrigued by horror. But again, I'm very picky with it. By Tom Fletcher. The thing is that it's like... Oh, it's a psychological. Ooh, that piques my interest. I love psychological horror. Okay. I might take a look at that one. That one seems interesting. Because with me, it's like my horror, it's like, when I consume horror in a more serious setting, I want it to scare me. So, like, if it does, or like, if it's more, like, fantasy-based, then I want it to scare me. If it's not, then I want it to mess me up. It's like, if it's a psychological horror, it needs to mess me up. It needs to make me think about it. So, I may take a peek at that one. Oh, I've only 30 pages into Witch Bottle, so I can't give any opinions. Valid. Six of Crows, really wanted to read it. One day I'll read more books. One day. We'll see when that happens. But okay. Those are the general proportions of an adult man. Right, so this is kind of generally what you want to think of. Let's actually write it on the side here. This is 7.5 heads. Right. So these are the general proportions of a man. Notice how similar it is to a woman. It's like almost exactly the same. And that's just because they are almost exactly the same. There are like very little things that like differentiate a man from a woman. It generally is the most notable things are generally like shoulder width and hip width that distinguish a man from a woman, and then like muscle structure, which is very, very advanced, and I probably won't go over it because we're going to keep it as simple as possible, or as simple as I can keep it for now. Because generally when we do draw men and women, like, it's like we wonder like, oh my god, how do I make them look different? And really, it's they look really, really similar. There's like almost, there's so little that's different about them. So they're really not that different. They're not that difficult to distinguish. So, we're going to leave it there for the lesson portion. If anybody has any specific questions that you want me to address that requires a mini demo, please let me know, and I will do that as soon as I can. But just type it in the chat, let me know. But for now, let's actually just start the final illustration, which again is just going to be lines because I cannot do a full thing with just an hour remaining. Things in Mistborn that are terrifying. Mistborn. Series of epic fantasy novels. Oh, it's gonna be fantasy? It's not gonna scare me. I'll probably think it's cool. I hate sensitive to the mic, that's bad. Is there a specific way to make a character look androgynous? No. So when we make characters look androgynous, you're just gonna have to, it's mostly about blending effeminate and masculine proportions. So when that happens, usually you tend to, they tend to look either like a slightly buffer woman or a very lean man, right? It tends to be around that area, right? When you want somebody to look purely androgynous. And then there's going to be stuff when it comes to facial proportions that you're going to have to change. So it's like, it's really a picking and choosing game because there are like rules for men and women in their difference. The real only difference between men and women with their facial proportions is just the softness of the jawline. Men tend to have a bit of a rougher hewn look to them compared to women. Like men tend to be a bit more chiseled compared to a woman. But like the facial measurements are exactly the same for men and women. It's like 5 eyes across. Corners of the mouth tend to align with the center of the eyes. Corners of the nose tend to align with the inner corners of the eyes, right? It's the exact same measurements. It's just that men tend to be a bit stronger in their features. They tend to be a bit sharper. So really, it's just about finding the middle ground between that. So it's like, okay, what jawline am I going to take? What kind of eyes am I going to take? What kind of blah, 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 right? It's really just a picking and choosing game and then blending it together. Okay. Who am I going to draw? There's a creature called an Inquisitor and they're horrifying. I only know the class Inquisitor. Got it. Thank you. No worries. Inquisitor. Here's the thing, right? Okay, there's very little that scares me anymore, right? I mean, very, very little. Like, when you tell me there's a creature called an Inquisitor, you said creature. That's gonna make me, like, interested. I'm not gonna be scared of that. I'm probably not gonna be scared of that. I'm gonna be like, ooh, I want to see its design. I want to see it more. Like, if I was playing Little Nightmares the other day, the second one, and like half the time I'm like, ooh, I can sense a jump scare happening. I can't wait to see the monster. You know? It's a lot of like, I feel like I won't, like when I play horror games that has monsters in them, I'm gonna die a lot. A, because I'm bad at games. B, because I'm just gonna like be trying to see the monster half the time because I want to see its design. Because I love monsters. Love Little Nightmares. Super true. The only Inquisitor I know is a character from Shadowhunters, The Mortal Instruments. Yeah, the only Inquisitor I know is like from D&D. Let's see. Inquisitor from which? Mistborn? It's just a dude. Yeah, no, this isn't scary. It's just a dude. He's kind of funky. He's alright. Oh, are those nails between the back of it? That's cool. That's a cool design. That's a really cool design. You know, he's not that scary. I think he's cool looking, though. Yeah. I feel the same way. Monster design is so interesting. Yeah. It's not just a dude. I don't know. I looked up Mistborn Inquisitor and it gave me a guy with, like, silvery eyes and he's smiling. He's cool looking. But again, not scary. Like, I think he's cool. You're insane. I'm not. I just love horror a lot. Look up The Teacher. The Teacher from Little Nightmares 2. I think she's beautiful. I think she's an amazing design. When I'm bored in science, because I have triple science on Tuesdays, I always draw little monsters with my hands and stuff. Yeah, it really is just a dude. Yeah. He's fun. Yeah, you look up The Teacher from Little Nightmares. I hope it comes up with the right one. Nightmares 2. No, not walkthrough. I just want to see her. Yeah, we do get to see her. Yeah, The Teacher. She's fun. She's a fantastic design. Every single time that she showed up, I was like, yo. I was like, I want to see you again. Like I'd love to just kind of, like, be off in the corner and get to see her. And, like, with her neck extend and, like, come and chase you. It's really cool. It's a really good design. Oh, no, I'm late. It's okay, Bunny Doll. You're all good. The Little Nightmare designs are fun in a mildly unsettling way. They use something called Uncanny Valley, and what that is it sets off alarm bells in your brain, because it's like, it looks somewhat human, but not quite to the point where it makes you uncomfortable. It sets off your fight or flight response, which is really smart of them, and I really love that. If you know how he is, you would not be saying he's just a dude. I mean, I can guess. But again, it takes a lot to scare me. It takes a lot to scare me. Horror stories are my bedtime stories. I fall asleep to horror stories. Like, it's a thing that I'm just very, very used to. So, like, don't worry. Like, he's probably very scary to a lot of people. I'm dead inside. That's all. Uncanny Valley is a powerful duel. Super true. Yeah, creatures don't scare me as much as people. Yeah, it depends on the person design as well. There's very little that scares me in terms of, like, game creatures and book creatures anymore. Like, visual horror is something that doesn't really scare me anymore. Like, at all. It's very hard to... Visual horror in terms of, like, illustrations and books and whatnot. If you want to scare me, the highest chance you're getting is through a movie. And the thing is that a lot of horror movies are not that great. So it's just gonna be a lot of, like... Whoops. Yeah, I'm really big on horror. Yeah, I love horror. Creepypasta bedtime stories. Not even. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It's like, some of them are like actual like big horror novels that I just like less creepypasta, more like actual big horror stories I love listening to that were really, really good. Call it a creature because he isn't human anymore. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think the thing is that he looks like a human, right? He might not be, but what he looks like is just a dude. So, like, on first impression, that's mostly just what I see. Right. He's probably his concept is probably a lot scarier than his design. Horror audiobooks are so good. Yeah. What's my favorite horror story? I've got a lot of really good ones that I love. A lot of my favorites aren't that scary. Oh, there is one that's really scary, but I can't name that one because it's definitely not for any of you. There's one that I love to listen to. It's really, really nasty. Like, it's really gross. It's very, very, like... The first time I listened to it, I had never... Like, I had chills the whole time I was listening to it. Because it was... Like, the way that it was described and the voice actors were amazing. And I was like, oh... right? The whole time listening to it. I've never been able to get that same feeling from any kind of horror story afterwards. But it was really, really good. Definitely aren't for me in that case. Nope. The horror story that I listened to actually terrified me. If we do another secret stream kind of in the future, then I might talk about my favorite horror stories if you ever join for those. You worry me, Jessie. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. This is just how I operate. I used to be terrified of everything. That's the thing. It's like I used to hate horror with like every fiber of my being. And then, like, I was like, I'm tired of being scared of horror, so then I just got used to it over the course of, like, 3 years, and now it's just, like, my second nature. Ooh, Welcome to Night Vale. I've seen Welcome to Night Vale live. I loved Welcome to Night Vale. I haven't listened in a really long time, so I probably should catch up. Welcome to Night Vale is like a psychological horror slash comedy slash fantasy, and it's really, really good. If any of you want like a good podcast to listen to, it's really, really fun. Each episode's about like 25 to half an hour. If you want a really, really good psychological fantasy kind of horror podcast, I think it ended a while ago, but it was the Magnus Archives. That was a good one. That one was fantastic. It didn't scare me, but it had me hooked on its story for sure. Body horror. There it is. Ray Numawik. Welcome to Night Vale Slaps. We went to go see Welcome to Night Vale live. That was a really fun time. Do you listen to YouTube Let's Reads or generally audiobooks? YouTube Let's Reads usually, because they're free. My thoughts on body horror is that body horror is probably my second favorite horror genre ever. Body horror is like my absolute love and pride and joy. It is my everything. The more that you can mess up anatomy, the better. The thing is that with the body horror, you have to be really, really good at anatomy to work with it. So like if you just draw, like you can draw anything. You can draw any kind of body horror, but the thing is that the smarter you are with it, the better the design will be. So that's what I really, really love about body horror, is that it shows how strong the individual is with anatomy. So I've never really gone full tilt on a wing canvas stream before. Like, people have always gone like, oh, Jessie, you should do, like, body horror for a stream, and I totally would. But I can't go full tilt on a stream. Because full tilt body horror would be very, very R18. And, like, I can't do that. Like, I totally would, but I can't. So maybe on a secret stream one day I will. Secret streams, for those who don't know, are held on our Discord channel. It's when I do a late night Discord call that anybody can join. You can just kind of watch me draw, and I'll be a bit more loose, a little bit less, quote-unquote professional like I am on streams, so we can just kind of chat about anything. I'm not really doing a lesson. You can kind of just watch me draw. And I'm a little bit less cautious about what I draw, so it's like I tend to... Sometimes I'll take requests, sometimes I'll do whatever. So if you ever want to see if I ever... because we never announce it on YouTube, because secret streams are really just something that I do in my free time. So if you ever just want to kind of... oh, sorry. Secret streams are something that I do on my free time, so if I ever hold one, then the only place you'll know is through Discord. Magnus Archives. Yeah. Night Vale's definitely nap sleep mood. Super true. Magnus Archives has been on my list so long, I need to get around to it. The Magnus Archives will terrify you, Oz, but it's really good. Definitely recommend. Yeah, I'm not into horror scare very easily. Yeah, no, that's fine. The Magnus Archives, it's like, I didn't find it scary at all. I found it really, really nice. Like, I found it was a psychological, so it wasn't like a big, like, jump scary kind of deal. It was a big psychological. It's definitely a thriller. Got my heart pumping in a few ways, but like it was not like scary to me. But again, I'm dead inside, so don't take my don't take my word for it. But it was amazing. It was really, really good. I remember when you had trouble time last time though. Yeah, I remember that. Jessie's true power must be contained. It's just because it doesn't align with the wing canvas itself. That's fine. Big fan of watching just draw. It's a great genre. Oz has watched me draw completely off the rails. So, woo, 4 a.m. drawing sessions, dude. Have you ever seen Umbrella Academy? Both seasons. I'm just waiting on season 3. I liked the Umbrella Academy. I thought it was really, really good. Having tips on this: when I draw more than one character in the same drawing, one hand is bigger or smaller. I've been having so much trouble with this. That should be fine. The thing with drawing characters is that, like, they shouldn't all be the exact same proportion anyway. So if you have a character with a slightly larger head, a character with a slightly smaller head, then, like, that's fine, generally. But, like, if they are supposed to be generally the same body type, then all you really have to do is just, like, all you really gotta do is just, like, you know, take the lasso tool and what's it called? Take the lasso tool and just adjust the size. If you're working traditionally, then it's mostly just a case of, like, you gotta compare constantly back and forth. Oh, by the way, we're doing a foreshortened pose, so I'm doing a top down because I tend to be better at those. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to have some words with the guys who told me that the Magnus Archives was light enough for me. The Magnus Archives, I think, okay. Because, like, you were saying that, like, one of my characters scared you. So I'm like, I'm kind of going based off of that, because the Magnus Archives, the voice actors are phenomenal, and they're, like, amazing at describing stuff. So it's, like, the stuff that they describe is pretty gnarly sometimes, so I'm just, like, kind of going off of that. I like the hair. Thank you. He's not my character. He's from the thing that I cannot name. A lot of times horror is too slow paced for me. I tried watching Horror Monster the anime, but couldn't get into it. Valid. I think, like, if you're into podcasts, the Magnus Archives is definitely for you, because that picks up really quick. I'd recommend some manga to you, but I can't on camera, so I will recommend some to you afterwards. Because the ones that I want to recommend are... I cannot talk about them. One of them is my favorite manga of all time, and I cannot talk about it because it is incredibly not family friendly. Please, I'll text you. Yes, sure. Yeah, I can definitely recommend a few. I'm not a fan of that mouthy child. Yeah. What's the Magnus Archives? The Magnus Archives is it's a podcast. It finished a few years ago. It is about 5 seasons, I believe. It's about an archive that documents, like, it documents, like, paranormal happenings. So, like, people can call in and say, like, hey, I've got a paranormal thing happening, and they'll, like, make an audio recording of it. And it starts off as just the, like, archival stuff, but then it, like, devolves, and it's really, really good. It really starts to push into the overarching story, and it's, like, amazing. I had a friend who recommended it to me, and they were like, dude, you're gonna love the Magnus Archives. If you liked Welcome to Night Vale, you're gonna like the Magnus Archives. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a listen. And I did, and it was amazing. I haven't finished it yet. I really need to, but I haven't finished it yet. I think I have, like 3 episodes left or something. Where's the podcast on? Like, which platform? Any. It's, like, on any platform. I know that a lot of people use, like, Apple Music or Spotify. I use Radio Public, but it's on, like, any podcasting system. R-rated Ghostbusters, so true. So it's like SCP? Yes, it's quite similar to SCPs in the beginning, for sure. For the Magnus Archives. And then it's not very similar to SCPs after that. But in the beginning, for sure it is. There's no liquefy tool in Medibank. Cries, sobs. This is the pose that I know I struggle with in terms of the arms, and I don't know why. I was like, yeah, I can do this for stream for sure, dude. Oh, fun little tidbit, by the way. When you're drawing the arms, for those who are a little bit more advanced, if you know that, like, when you draw the muscles, they link like chains. When you have the bicep and the tricep that's connected to the deltoid, first of all, is like 3 different planes. When you have them there. So depending on the angle that you have them, you might be able to see the 3 planes. When you have the delt is a little bit lower than the tricep is, but neither of them connect directly to the elbow. So they're going to be a little bit higher up because there's tendons here that separate them from the base of the arm. So if you have your deltoid up here, which kind of ends, then you have your bicep, which kind of stops around here, and then goes into a tendon where the elbow is, and then you can go into the forearm muscle, which I don't remember the name of. But for those of you who are more advanced, there you go. I learned that a couple days ago. Imagine not having a liquefy tool. SMH my head, pretending CSP didn't only get one like a month ago. So true. Every program should have a liquefy tool. It's literally like the best thing ever. explain what you mean by plane? Yeah, for sure. So when we are drawing anything on the body, if we think of them as like 3D shapes, think of a cube for me, right? If you have a cube, one of the sides is a plane, right? One of the flat edges is a plane. So when we think of, like, if we are thinking of, say, the deltoid, we can split it up into planes. Right, so we have 1 plane, 2 plane, 3 plane, which can connect to the bicep, which has a couple planes like this, and then the tricep, which has a couple more planes, right? So it's really just thinking of them as, like, super basic geometric shapes. Yay, muscles. Yay, muscles indeed. Muscle tip is good. I'm gonna add it to my notes. I can literally just send you my class notes. Like, you know that, right? Thanks. No worries. One of my profs is this amazing, crazy good figure artist. Wow, I can't believe I just said jar. He's an amazing figure artist, and, like, he told us that tip, and I was like, huh. And I pulled out my notes app and actually wrote it down. I never do that. But I was like, I have to remember that. So I wrote it down. That one, and, like, how the radius and ulna are connected to the hand. Right, so the ulna is connected to the thumb, and the radius is connected to the pinky. Or is it the other way around? I wrote it down. I wrote it down. That's another thing I wrote down. Hang on, I'm grabbing my phone. Because I need to remember. Did my top here? The top that I ordered is here. I'm gonna cry, gonna sob. I wanna go get it. Okay, my bad. So the radius is on the thumb, the ulna is on the pinky. So when we have the bones connected, you draw the radius. The radius connects to the thumb, the ulna's on the pinky. So it's orange on thumb, purple on pinky. Got it. Synesthesia. Type beat. This might be a weird question, but do you think at some point you guys could do some kind of a writing stream? What do you mean by writing stream? Like a stream on how to write? That bit I know from middle school because I had to burn that into my brain for an exam. Soup's true. Yeah, the science bit. Like, I would have I know that I learned it at some point in high school, and I just did not remember it or retain it because I stopped taking high school after I was stopped taking science after I was 16. So, yes. The thing, I'd love to do, like, a writing stream, like how to write a character. The issue is that that's not very streamable. It'll get really, really boring because it's just going to be a lot of me just writing down stuff. If there's enough demand for it, then sure. But if there isn't, because a lot of people are mostly just here for drawing. If you'd like to see us do a writing stream, like, totally, like, let us know as, like, a content suggestion, and we can totally take it into account. But as of right now, like, a lot of our streams are mostly just drawing based. See, I do these little coils around the leg so I can get an idea of how to draw the clothes on afterwards. That's really important. Ooh, I recently got 100 on an assignment I had recently, which was drawing 14 figures from life and submitting them. So I got 100% on that recently, which I'm very proud of. I'm also really happy about it because he's, like, my favorite prof. And he was like, great job. And I'm like, thanks, man. It means a lot coming from you, dude. Actually, he said recently, he was like, because we were talking, he's like, how do you enjoy your classes so far? And I'm like, they're pretty good. I'm like, they're all right, which is true. I'm like, I think they're all right. And he's like, and I was like, this isn't my first, like, post-secondary place because I've been to school for game art before. And he's like, oh yeah, I can tell you have some prior drawing experience because you're clearly very good at drawing, and it's like, it shows in your work. And I was like, thank you. Oh, that's all right, Meredith. Thanks for joining in. Regardless, this will be available for you afterwards anyway. Thanks for joining. Brandon Sanderson has a college writing course posted up on YouTube, tying it back from the convo from the beginning. This seems true. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, like, I write, but I'm not a professional writer in any standpoint. Like, I have not, I haven't had an English class since, like, I was in high school, and I'm not an English major. So really, like, as much as I like to say, like, writing tips, I don't really trust myself to really teach a proper writing class. Like, not fully, anyway. Oh my god, okay, I'll just flip it, fine. This chin is angled wrong as well. Man! I wish I had the liquefy tool. I love writing. Yeah, same. Like, I love writing, but I'm not a professional writer in any standpoint. So it's like, I don't know if I trust myself to really teach it. Like, with drawing, it's like, yeah, I'm being taught professionally, and I've been doing it professionally for ages, right? It's like, I know how to do what I'm doing. But with writing, it's like, it's very much like, I'm not really a professional, and I don't want to misguide anybody. So, like, I'm trying to get out of the pose that I want to do, but also, like, I probably should just do the pose that I wanted to do, but also I am struggling. Could we see your writing? It's online. Look up Say Hello Grayson on Webtoon. That's me. What's been my favorite uni assignment so far? I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really loved any of them. Not from second semester anyway. From first semester, my favorite assignment was... Yeah, my favorite assignment was the first one for my main course, which is illustrative concepts. And what we had to do is we had to choose one of the words that he gave us. There was like broken, there was shoes, there was a few like words that he gave us, and he was like, okay, you gotta take this word and you gotta make an illustration from it, and one of them has to be negative, and one of them has to have negative connotation, the other one has to be positive. And from that, we were supposed to just make a full illustration about that. So I chose broken, because I'm lazy, and broken was the easiest one to work with. And, and like, I had a lot of fun with that one. There was like I had one, my positive was like this little kid, and he had broken his arm, but he was painting on his cast. And then the other one was like, I took the idea of like burnout, and I drew like this caricature as like not a caricature, but I drew like this character as like a broken machine. So I used like a broken generator as like my thing to like metaphorically show a broken work schedule, whatever. So that was a lot of fun. My current assignments have been pretty boring so far. I haven't really had anything that I loved. There's one class that I have, Media Studio Analog, which has been pretty fun. Like, it's me working in traditional art a lot, but it's a lot of me, like, he tells us prompts that we have to draw every week, and we get to kind of just do whatever we want with the prompts in whatever medium we want. Like, there are some constraints, but it's mostly just like work in your style and develop your style and experiment and be loose with how you work, and you just get to do whatever you want. It just has to be in traditional medium. There was a couple paintings. I tried oils for the first time. There's a couple paintings that I was really proud of. He really liked one of them too, so I was like, yes, double proud of that. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I should have said exclamation point Grayson. That's my comic. I haven't updated it in like 2 months. I need to tell them that I'm on hiatus. I keep like forgetting to go up because like I got real burnt out on it, so I'm like, I needed to take a hiatus, but like I haven't updated anybody. Oopsie doopsie. Oh, thanks for the school stream, the podcast suggestion. Pretty late in the year. Gotta go catch some Z's. Of course, Granka. Thanks for joining. Making the ground plane consistent is always a struggle for me, like how you have the hands and the arms in the same plane here. Yeah, it's a habit that I need to get into, is actually like drawing out the plane on the bottom, like I should be, but I haven't been doing that. Like it helps a lot when you actually draw in the grid. I haven't been doing that ever. So I probably should at some point, but I don't know when I'm gonna do that. I hate doing traditional paintings, love looking at other people's, yeah. I've learned that painting gets better when you find the paint medium that you really love. I found that I really hated painting when I was, like, constricted to, like, acrylics and watercolor only. I liked watercolor, but I wasn't, like, in love with it. I think, like, now that I've worked in oils, I don't think I could ever go back to anything else. Like, I love oils and I love gouache. Those are the two painting mediums that I love. And, like, I love acrylic gouache and I love oils. Oils are amazing. I'm super, super in love with working with oils. I want to practice them more, but based on how long the drawing time is, I don't have the time to do them for assignments. So they just kind of sit there, but I absolutely want to try doing more stuff with oils. Also working with a dip pen to ink stuff. I've been having a lot of fun working with acrylic ink and India ink with like a proper dip pen, which is really, really fun. But yeah, painting is also just not for everyone. I know that a lot of people just don't like painting, which is super, like, valid of you. I love digital painting a lot. Like, I like overall traditional painting. I love digital painting. Digital painting is like my favorite thing ever. Yeah, never really great at painting, but I really enjoy working with chalk and oil pastels. I really loved oil pastels for sure. Chalk I've never really liked chalk. I've tried it myself. Like, I've tried it a couple times, but I've never really been a chalk person. Oil pastels, though, for sure. Like, it's, like, more control over them. I feel like they just get a little bit too messy for me. Dip pens are so fun to use. I love doing calligraphy with them. Super true. Super true. I'm gonna try calligraphy again at some point. Be a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just on the lining now. I'm just kind of doing whatever I want. Yeah. He's a bit of a buffer character, so it's a little bit easier to draw for me. I'm better with more built characters. Honestly, me and traditional art supplies don't see eye to eye. Valid. I don't think I found the traditional medium for yet. That's fair. I do chalk on people's driveways. It's so messy. I used to draw and chalk on people's driveways all the time when I was younger. I don't really do that anymore, but I'd love to do it again at some point. Yeah, I don't think I've found the traditional medium for me yet. I find that a lot of digital artists tend to lean towards the inks. Like Micron pens and like General Bic pens and whatever, those tend to be their medium of choice. Pencil as well tends to be good for digital artists if they're just kind of learning. Now all I can think of is the top that I ordered. It's here. I can get it. It's just right there. It's the top that I drew last week. It's the I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited for this top, and now it's here, and I'm like, I want to get it. I want to, man. So like, ugh. They're like, hey, it's delivered, and I'm like, it is. Somebody get it for me, please. I want to see it. That's a pretty nice eye, actually. Love cleanliness in my work when it comes to traditional. I'm like, I want everything to be perfect. Yeah. If there's one thing that my current class, my digital, or sorry, my media studio analog class has taught me, is that perfection within traditional work is impossible, so it's better to just like mess around and make something imperfect with cooler techniques. And it's like, then by that point you'll have more fun with it as well. There's one technique that I learned that my prof really loves, and I think I've started to love as well, where it's like I work in India inks on watercolor paper to line, and then using watercolor to color it in, I intentionally let the ink bleed. So I intentionally let it run, and I use those bleeds as like shading and like yeah, to like shade stuff or like to um add dimension to the colors. It's been a lot of fun experimenting with that. Get someone to open it and hold it in front of you while you're working. So true. It's outside. I can't just leave my desk and go get the mail. I'm gonna cry. Crying, sobbing right now. But yeah, that's why I say that digital artists tend to like microns and pencils and Copic markers, because those are like the quote-unquote the perfect mediums, because they can make your stuff look really, really perfect so long as your hand is steady enough. Like, the reason why my hand is so steady is because I'm used to working traditionally. It was my first medium, so like I lined traditionally before I lined digitally. So I'm very used to having a steady hand. Oh, heavens. If only Copics didn't cost a soul. So true. The thing is, like, I have a really, really large Copic collection. Like, I have a case of like 80 Copics, and then I have another kind of like bound grouping of Copics because I don't have any room left in my case for them. And that collection I've built up since I was in like 7th grade. So it's just been like, for the longest time, every time that I would go to the art store near my house, I would like buy maybe like 2 or 3 Copics. And it would just be like a whole tradition and be like, yeah, here's another couple Copics I can add to my collection. And here's another couple things I can add to my collection. So it's just a collection that's built up over the ages. But marker is definitely one of my favorite coloring mediums ever. I definitely prefer it over pencil crayon. It's fine, I just put on some elevator music and get your package. No, it's fine. I have an obligation to stay here. I can wait. Because I don't know if it's outside my door, if it's at the mailbox. Because if it's at the mailbox, then it's gonna be like a 10-minute, or not 10-minute, maybe like a 5-minute. No, it'll be about a 5 to 10-minute wait while I go and get the package. It's fine. I can just wait. Stream ends in like half an hour. I'll live. Oha markers. Ohuhu markers? Oh heavens. They come in like a little black case. It's a zip-up case. Yeah, those. Ah, I see, I see. Easy blending, no smudging. I see. Fascinating, fascinating. They're good. Ah. Trouble Jazza has a big thing where he tested basically every marker brand. There were some cheaper brands that did really well compared to Copics. Yeah, for sure. Copics is just like the big brand, but there are probably ones that are like way better. I use Copic Chows, so they're like the ones that are like low scent. Because I love acrylic markers, but I hate their scent. So it's like the Copic Chows are the ones that I think have the lowest scent, which is like what matters to me. I've not used them in a while though. Yeah, same. I've been recently picking my Copics back up because of school, but it's been a long time. Draw with Jazza was somebody that a friend of mine loved watching when we were younger. I never got into Draw with Jazza. Because I was a pretentious child, and I was like, listen, if I want to learn something, I'm going to learn it on my own. You can't tell me what to do. So I was never a video tutorial kid. I just always read books. Read books and just kind of looked at other people's work and was like, I like that technique, and I would learn it. Don't use markers. I tend to make watercolors look like markers. Oh, soup's true. That's the Oh no, what's the artist's name? Oh no. Uh... Uh... No, I don't remember his name. Shoot. Alright, he's a watercolor artist. He uses watercolor and, like, this really cheap pen. He's French, but he lives in Japan. And, like, he draws his kids' artwork. Like, his kid will design a monster and then he'll do it professionally. That's what I'm talking about. He's how I learned how to do watercolors. I watched him work. Yeah, I've been needing to get a few gray Copics just to add to my ink sketches. Super true. Yeah, just like a nice gray tone will add so much to anything. In that case, don't get a Copic, get a Tombow. Because Tombows will A, last longer, and B, they're a little bit cheaper. 200 watercolor pencils for Christmas. I've yet to use them. I like watercolor pencils. I've never actually used them for watercoloring. They're really, really nice for, like, just really smooth coloring. But I tend to just work with normal watercolors. You know what I got, actually? I have acrylic inks. Like, I got, like, some new colored acrylic inks that I also have yet to use. Maybe I'll use them this week. Because we've been told to... My new assignment is that we have to draw wrestlers. And we have to just make them as, like, in our style as possible. So he's like, if you love working with comics and, like, cartoons and whatever, like, lean into that because I want to see that. And I'm like, yes, sir. So I'm really excited to do some, like, Street Fighter style kind of illustrations. I think I'll use him after the stream. Nice. Thomas Romaine, that's him. Yeah, Thomas Romaine, that's the guy. Knew who you meant, but I didn't remember his name. Yeah. I was like, it's something Romaine. I'm like, I don't remember his name. My brain was like, it's Mark Romaine. That's not it. You know, he's amazing. He's really, really good at what he does. My uncle got me a 72 count of Aztec fineliners. I feel like poop that I haven't used them, but it's not something I use. That's fair enough. Aztec fineliners. I've never heard of those. Arteza? Arteza fineliners? Yeah, I can't find Aztec, but I found Arteza. That's valid, though. It's just sometimes you just don't work with traditional. I've been spending a lot of time on his hair. I didn't mean to, but, like, man, these lines look great. Boys indeed. Hello, maybe Arts, welcome in. Lads. All I ever draw are boys. I'm definitely stronger with men than I am with women. I can do both, but it's definitely like I'm stronger when drawing men than I am in drawing women. Which works in my favor with life drawing because we rarely have female models, which is really funny. But yeah, I tend to be stronger when I draw men. Hello. Okay, spelling wrong. Yeah, no worries. I found him. Arteza, okay. Yeah. I bought a Prismacolor set and then immediately switched to digital and I've never been back. Oh, Prisma. Prisma, I like Prismacolor in terms of, like, its coloring pencils. Their markers are very okay. I find the Prismacolor markers are a little bit too pigmented and they smell so strong. So, like, I could never use a Prisma marker set. But their pencil crayons, very nice. They're really, really high pigment. Really nice. Really smooth. I only really draw women. Yeah, no, that's very common. It's usually people tend to draw women more than men. My dad explained it as, like, women just have a lot more interesting anatomy. I find that they're around the same. Like, having worked with both, I'm just like, yeah, it's about the same. But especially when it comes to fashion, if we stick to the more gender-locked idea of it, women definitely have more interesting looks they can go for, which is, like, soup's true, but, like, I don't gender lock anything, so nothing matters to me. Saying I'm stronger at women is massive understatement. I'm basically a one trick at this point. Very valid of you. Yeah, throughout these streams, like, throughout, like, these kind of, like, learning streams, like, we can chat as much as you want, but feel free to, like, ask me questions. Like, I'm okay with asking, or, like, answering anything. Really. Like, within reason, obviously, but, like, if it pertains to the subject, or if it pertains to art in general, like, I'll answer it. I'm trying to figure out what outfit to put him in, because I'm always so basic with this character. Draw men more feminine, yeah. For me, it's like I'm pretty good at, like, the scale of, like, ultra masculine to ultra feminine, so it's like I tend to do mixes of both for my characters, but I tend to draw my men a bit more effeminate and my women a bit more masculine, because I like the androgyny of them both. How long have I been drawing for? I am turning 21, so soon it'll be 21 years. Though I've been drawing seriously since I was maybe 13, so it'll be about 8 years soon. Well, no, that's not true. I think I've been drawing seriously since I was about 12, so it'll be about 9 years coming up. But, like, I've been drawing my whole life, so yeah, it'll be about 21 years. Digitally, I've been drawing since I was about 13, so that's gonna be about 8 years. I draw men more feminine, but not by choice. That's just how I draw. Valid. It took me a really long time to learn to do both sides of the scale, like draw men that look like men in the more generalized point, or more generalized way, you know? So it took a bit of time to actually get acquainted with that. But now I am, and it's just how I work. I have to imagine by whatever just a scale for drawing seriously is. I still haven't started. My scale was like, it was when I actually started to worry about how my work looked. That's kind of what I was thinking of. So like when I was really young, I drew without really thinking ever. Like I didn't really have any theory behind my work or anything like that. It was very much like, I'm gonna draw this, and that's just how I'm gonna draw, and I have no reason to, but I will. When I hit around 13-ish, 12-ish, that's when I started to go like, okay, I'm gonna start practicing poses. I'm gonna start working with such and such and such. So it's like, when I hit that age, that was around the time when I actually started to take drawing more seriously and really think of it as more of a career compared to just like, I'm doing this now and I will do it like this forever, you know? That's my scale anyway. Hi, hello Fariba, welcome in. Yeah, so when I was around 12-ish, that's when I started drawing more seriously. And then I started drawing digitally when I was about 13. Yeah, I remember hearing in a podcast that the strength of children is that they will draw absolutely whatever with no thought if they can't actually manage it or not. Super true, yeah. It is very much like, when I was a kid, I drew whatever the heck I wanted. I didn't care how cringe it was. I was free, dude. Like, I still draw cringe all the time, and I am still free. But now I am aware of my cringe. When I was younger, I didn't know that I was cringe. I just did it because I was like, yeah, man, this is epic, dude. This is real sick. Now I'm aware of my cringe. But I do not care. How do you mix your colors in Medivac Paint? You take a brush. You take your brush and you kind of... You lower the opacity and you just... You work from there. If I take my blue and I take my pink, I put them next to each other. I have my opacity by pressure put down. I just alt-click and they blend. Yes, sir. Painting! I draw anime art. Cringe is inherent. So true, King. Your cringe is showing. Oh, absolutely. I'm okay with my cringe showing. That's how you... That's the key to happiness. If you're cringe, dude, like, embrace it. I'm so cringe, man. Like, I'm so cringe, and I don't care. It's the key to self-actualization. You know, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can skip all the way to self-actualization if you understand that you're cringe and you accept it. Can you name that brush? I didn't find it. It's the G pen. Honestly, right? The brush that I'm using is the G pen. You click the little gear next to it and you can change it to opacity by pressure. These questions are answered in the Medivac Paint Pro tutorial. Cringe is love, cringe is life. So true. I love cringe. Like, I love cringe compilations, too. Like, they give me, like, so much pain. But they're, like, amazing. There's two types of cringe, right? There's, like, actual legitimate cringe, which is, like, it's actually painful and it should be painful. And then there's, like, cringe where it's, like, the person's not really doing anything. It's just a little bit cringe for how they act towards it. And, like, you can live with that. Like, they're not doing anything to hurt anybody. It's just cringe because, like, society says that it's cringe. Like, embrace that cringe, dude. Like, whatever you want to do, man. Like, that's the cringe that you should embrace. There's other kinds of cringe, and that cringe you should not embrace. That cringe you need help for. But, like, just general cringe, like, so, like, embrace it, dude. Do you like Iranian art? I'm gonna be honest, I don't really distinguish it. Iranian artwork. I mean, Google's probably not giving me an accurate representation of what this is, but what I'm seeing looks pretty cool. Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't really study... Like, art history is something that I have to do for school. They haven't really gone over Iran. I cannot watch cringe. I get secondhand embarrassment way too hard. Oh, I do too, but I think it's funny. I'm tempted to just put him in a coat so I don't have to, like, worry about all this. I'm probably gonna do that. I'm gonna do that because I don't want to draw his tattoos. I don't want to pull up the reference for his tattoos. I'll put him in a jacket because I am not gonna bother. Yeah, like, we have art history, but, like, my art history class, we haven't gone over, like, Iran or anything like that. Which I think is dumb. I think we should go over more places other than, like, China and Japan and Europe, which tends to be the extent of what we do. It's a little bit of India as well, but that really is it. Would you look at that? A blanket conveniently covering all the bits that I don't want to draw is so true. I was originally just gonna put him in, like, a tank that I usually do, but, like, I don't want to pull up the reference because, like, that's a Photoshop reference, and I don't want to pull it up right now. So, because it's a Photoshop file, so that would mean I'd have to find the other JPEG, and I don't want to have to do that. Pretend that I can draw hoodies okay. Because I've been noticing more and more recently that my method of drawing them is very inaccurate, so I'm like I should probably restudy them again. recommend you go and see very beautiful paintings. Go where and see them? Because I mean, Google's not showing me good ones. I don't think. At least based on my art history classes, only consider like 6 countries to exist. So true. I don't mind art history. I think that like it can get boring. It just like because like for me, like all the art that matters to me is like post 1600s. I think like where it starts is Baroquean art, and then like anything past that I think is cool. But like anything before that I think is kind of boring, and I don't really care about it. But like it's up to you though. Like I'm not huge on art history, but if you are, like all the more power to you, dude. You're a stronger human being than I am. Pinterest and Google. Yeah, I mean I googled it, but like I don't know what's the correct one. I googled it. I looked at the images. I think they're all right. Okay, there's about 14 minutes left. Alright, let's just speed through this. Because there's only a little bit left that I have to do. I am so annoyed that I constantly have to switch between, like, with shortcuts with the eraser and the pen. Like, just let me flip my brush over, dude. Romanticism was my favorite art era, but I don't really care about the history too much, and that's the one with the prettiest pictures, so true. The Romanticist era was really, really nice. I wanted to make a Romanticist piece at some point, like really study it, hone in on it, just because I love the emotion that Romanticism brings. Maybe one day I will. Again, it's an excuse for me to make a really dramatic painting, but I have oils now, so we'll see. Sleepy, I'm not gonna read that out loud, but like I am gonna steal that though. Thank you. I will steal that and tell that to my friends. Yes, I will be stealing that and subjugating all of my friends to that knowledge. Yes. I love how like it gets a little bit cleaner, less clean as you go down. Like the face and the hair are like really, really clean, and then as you go down the rest of the body, it's like it's a little bit less clean. It's okay. The important bit is the one that's like clean, which is the face. Just pretend that the rest of it is clean too. That's like, yeah, we're golden, dude. Try really hard to draw the eyes beautifully, but I could never. Eyes are really, I feel like a lot of artists find eyes to be some of the easiest parts, just because like the eye is something that people like to practice a lot. The eye is just really something that you just gotta practice on, as is most art things. Just gotta practice and it'll get easy as time goes on. It's like with hands and feet, I find them second nature now. Like they're not really anything difficult. They're not anything insurmountable to me anymore. When I was younger, for sure, I was like, oh my gosh, hands. And now I'm like, dude, hands rule. They're the best to draw. Slow pan of how much time you had left, basically. Love eyes, yeah. Go spread the good word. I have spoken. So true, Sleepy. What methods of learning hands do you recommend? A lot of it's going to be a lot of observation. For me, I really started to grasp hands when I started using, like, the bean method, which is, like, you know, draw each individual phalange as a bean rather than, like, a full thing, right? Which helps. It helps some people, but not everybody. It's really about finding the method that your brain can grasp, right? So for me, it was the bean method. Some people really like geometry, so they like to work with, like hard, like, cubes and rectangular prisms and whatnot. That's up to you, though, like, whatever you're feeling. I always just show the same 4 things. I've gotten a lot of practice doing not many things. Do Koreans have anime too, or anime's only for Japan? They have a different name for it. I don't exactly remember it. I know that, like, in Japan it's called manga, in Korean it's manhwa. I don't know the anime equivalent, though. I know that there is, but I don't know the name. Maybe Oz will, but I don't remember the name of it. Or maybe somebody else in chat will know. I've always just drawn the same 4 things, so I've gotten a lot of practice doing not many things. Yeah. For me, it's hard to find a niche because I just like to do all the things. Like, I love horror, but I'm not always in the mood for horror, and I love fantasy, but I'm not always in the mood for fantasy. And I love romance, but I'm not always in the mood for romance. You know, it's like I'm every genre ever. Because I just like to do different things depending on how I'm feeling, and it switches every few months. So it's hard to stay focused on one thing over and over. Because it's how I stay interested in my work, is I switch up what I'm doing. Ooh, that hand is wrong, actually. Can I fix this real quick? It's a little better. It's a little late to fix the whole thing anyway. Just not a specific name for anime as far as I know. Manhwa is for comics, though. Yeah, Korean animation is a specific style of animation that I've never been a big fan of. Ah, fascinating. Yeah, no, I wouldn't know. I haven't watched anime in a really long time, which means that I also have not watched Korean animation. A lot of the anime are made partially in Korea, though, because a lot of the in-between frames are done overseas. Same for American animation, though. Oh, fascinating. Okay. I don't know much about the animation pipeline. That's something I'm not very knowledgeable about. So, fascinating. I always draw fantasy, whether that's horror fantasy, that's a different story. I can't remember the last time I drew a human figure with only human features. There's always horns or elf ears or wings, soups, valid. For the past few months, yeah, same. I've been drawing a lot of, like, non-human people. I think, like, this guy and then his sister are the exceptions. So it's like, everybody else, it's like, yeah, you've got wings or elf ears or you're a gnome, you know? Most of the time, though, I was very much like, yeah, you're just pure human. That's all I'm drawing you as. I also know nothing about animation, just like anime. I can make a ball bounce, that's my limit. Same, dude. I too can do the ball bounce animation, and that's the extent of my skill. feel like it's very similar to a lot of like my normal art as well. It's like sometimes I'll be like drawing and like there'll be points where what's it called? There'll be points where like I'll look at my work and I'll be like, yo, this is fire. Like I did so good on this. And then there's other points where it's just like I did it, but it's not like anything crazy good. Like that's what distinguishes the work that I do to the work that I like. Right? I find that I usually 99% of the time I work to a point where I'm at least satisfied, but it's rare to where I work to a point where I'm very, very happy with what I did. Should have lightened this up. This should be a bit thinner so I can show off the foreshortening just a smidge more. I once tried to make a character flip a pancake. It was terrible. Valid. I can make a marshmallow character with spaghetti legs run animation. So valid of you. Soup's true. I just accepted most of my art as mediocre. The spite fuels me. I'm trying to get over that though. Yeah, you should. I feel like when I start to feel that a lot of my artwork is mediocre, I immediately go into you gotta push yourself mode. So there's two things you can tell about me, right? One is if my work gets really weird, then I'm in a bad mood. And two, if my work starts to get complicated, like very complicated in a way that it usually is not complicated, then I'm really frustrated with my work. So if you see me drawing a lot of mechs, you start to see me doing a lot of backgrounds with technology, you see me drawing armor a lot, like very complex armor, then that means I'm upset with my artwork. If it's just weird in general, then I'm just upset. But if you see my work and it gets like really like complicated in a way that my work would normally not get complicated, that's how you know that I'm just like I'm not vibing with my work at the moment and I need to fix it. It's almost like I'm trying to prove to myself that like my work is not mediocre and I can do something better with myself. Right? So it's like if I feel like my work is feeling really, really awful at one point, then I'm like, dude, I need to change that. I can't stay like this forever. There we go. That kind of helps push the foreshortening a little bit. So if you draw the planes in there, and draw the perspective grid in there a little bit. Me trying to figure out how I drew this. Yeah. Adding a grid can really just change your view. Really helps give like a sense of perspective on all of your work. It really helps. It really helps bring a scene into 3D. Like it makes the scene really feel three-dimensional. The best trick to sell perspective tiles or floorboards. So true. Yeah, this is just This is just a grid to kind of show off what's happening here. But yeah, tiles, floorboards, the easiest way to sell your perspective. On that note, though, that is 6 o'clock. Does it still look so good when you flip the canvas? Because I've been flipping this whole time. Actually, it's a little bit messed up. There's a section here that's kind of wonky, but it's okay. Flipping the canvas is nice, but you don't necessarily have to do it. It's up to you. Oh, actually, I forgot a section here. But it is 6 o'clock, though. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you for joining this lad stream. Again, if you enjoyed what you were looking at, subscribe to the channel. But if you didn't know, we're not only a YouTube channel, we're also an art studio. So if you'd like to see all of the classes that we offer, be sure to check them out on our website. You're going to have to go over to wingcanvas.com. You're going to have to check out the classes that we offer. March Break Camp is coming up, so if you'd like to sign up for that. I am not... Oh, heavens. I am not teaching March Break Camp this year, but there are many other teachers who will be. So if you'd like to check that out, be sure to check them out on the website. This file that you see in front of you, along with the lesson that we learned today, those are both going to be available on our Discord as JPEGs. If you'd like to join the Discord, be sure to hop in over there. We might do a secret stream at some point if I ever get free time ever again. But we might do a secret stream, might do some fun other stuff, meet other art nerds, talk to me, talk to other people. You'll see them all there. But if you'd like my working files, this only has 2 layers, so it probably won't show up. But if you'd like my working files, you're going to have to join our Patreon, where you can get working files and behind-the-scene posts, which happen sometimes. So if you'd like to check those out, you can sign up for our working files, as little as $5 a month. But just behind the scenes, that's about $2 a month. So if you'd like to check those out, be sure to do so. Enjoy your shirt, Jessie. Thank you. I will get my top. But yeah, next week, I believe... What is next week? I don't remember. I straight up don't remember. We're going to be back in Photoshop again. Oh, no, we're not. If it is what I think it is, then we are not. Oh, no, okay. So we're going to be back in Photoshop next week, turning blank into characters. So we're going to be doing a bunch of, like, objects into characters next week, so you can leave suggestions, and, like, there will be a poll, as always, for things you'd want me to draw as a character. But yeah, y'all, thanks so much for joining, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye. Au revoir.